Welcome to Speak on Stage Live. This is our LinkedIn audio podcast. It's recorded and it's ready for you. Today we're going to be discussing how to discover and boost your grit and resilience to enjoy super success. We've got all the team on board and I'm so glad that you could join us too. It's time now for Speak on Stage. So there we go, Speak on Stage is back. Hello ladies, how are you? Let's go live now. And as I press the button to go live, which should be very exciting indeed, we are joined on stage by my partners in crime, my actual partner in crime, and her new bestie, who is dedicated to just picking on me for no apparent reason apart from this girl power. So I blame Posh Spice and her friends for this. So my wife is davecrane and also Debbie Grace, somewhere in the UK, and I don't even know if it's raining or not. How are you, Debbie?
I'm very well, thanks. And we weren't picking on you. We were being really nice.
Right. Okay. How are you, Aziza?
I'm okay, good.
Yeah, as soon as I hear that, I know you've been picking on me and she doesn't want to say anything. So anyway, we're live and we're broadcasting. We've got 60 minutes to get as much as we can across to as many people as possible talking about subjects I find fascinating, and I hope everybody else does as well. Now, the great thing about it is we're actually coordinating it with our WhatsApp group. It's got about 400 people and everyone's welcome to join. I think Aziz is going to drop all the links into the comments on this particular post on LinkedIn. And we're in the middle of our 5-day challenge on how to create grit. And if you're not part of that group, then you really should join us because we do them once a month and they are very cool. And we get some incredible answers and interactions from people there. So Debs, how's your week been?
My week has actually been really good, really productive, and yeah, I'm looking forward to a weekend just to unwind.
I know that feeling. In fact, I'm off tomorrow to get everything packed. I'm flying off to Saudi to host Leap for about 4 or 5 days, which is a bit mad. So hopefully when I come back after that, I can relax. But the last time I did that, when I went to Davos, Mrs. said to me, "I'm not very well. You've got to take over when you get back after your holiday." Davos holiday. Nope. So that was it for another 5 days. And then she recovered and I got a break after that. So hopefully in 2 weeks' time I can have a day off. That'll be cool.
It'll be an amazing trip, and I'm sure that everybody at Leap will benefit from your presence.
Oh, yeah, so true.
All the best.
Thank you so much. I'm going to be talking to the people in the room as well in a moment. Aziza, do you want to say hello and tell us how you are today?
Hello, I'm good. It's sunny. It's sunny outside, so I'm good.
Okay, so you're looking out into the garden. It's nice and green, and the flowers are coming through in the trees as well, which is beautiful. And we're having lots of conversations about incredible marketing things that we're going to be doing. So that's going to keep us busy over the next couple of months or so. So I'm very excited about what that turns into as well. What do you think?
Yes, definitely. Especially with reposting our podcasts on like snippets of it, which I'm very excited to do.
That's true. You've been chopping up all my interviews because if you just joined us, by the way, welcome to our Speak on Stage weekly podcast. We normally do it on a Sunday, but today we've changed it to a Friday because I'm traveling, so I can't do it on a Sunday. And this particular podcast, we do 2 a week. One's the live one that we record with everyone else getting a chance to interact. But the one that comes on earlier in the week is normally an interview or a training session, an education slot. Now, this last chapter or last season has really been about interviews with some amazing people. So Aziza's had the job of chopping up all the clips from the sessions to feed in to everybody to allow people to then catch up on what's going on, which is very exciting as well. So look out for them and I'll point you out all the different sorts of interviews that we have. And I've got some, in fact, tonight I'm busy interviewing people long before I get on a plane, and you get to catch them and find out soon as well. Now, before we start anything, we are quite quiet in the room. So can I recommend that everybody just takes a few moments to share that we are broadcasting live and let everybody know that they can come and join us. So anybody who's missing on it or not seeing it can then find out. So either at the very least repost it to your feed and say here we are and let them know that we're broadcasting. But if you are in a group or you've got connections or you've got a work group that you'd like to bring to the table as well, then feel free to share it with them so we can get a few more people into the group. We normally get about 10, 15, 20 to join us during the hour or so. But the time flies past before you know it. So I want to make sure that we get as much as possible done in the time that we're talking about, especially because today's subject is all about grit, which I think is probably one of the most important subjects that you can ever understand. And I didn't know what grit was until somebody shared it with me as a concept, because it just sounded stupid. Have you got grit? What, you mean in my shoes, in my hair, in my teeth? And I said, no, it's not that. What it is the ability to be able to stand through life, move through, keep moving forward, and be able to bounce off despite what hits you. And there's a couple of levels to this, which makes it really fascinating. There's books written on it and all sorts as well. So let me just explain. So normally when people go through life, there's certain advantages that they have. So some people are very well connected through their parents or through a location. Some people are richer than others. They're born into a silver spoon in their mouth, as they say. Some people are better looking. Some people are fitter. Some people have the advantages of connection. It could be a load of different things. Some people have got very good education, so they go to university and instantly find themselves, with degrees and all the rest of it. But the one factor that beats all these different things is your ability to have grit. And this has been measured over people's lifetimes. So what does that mean? Well, the ability to keep moving forward, to learn as you go and not drop the ball, to be able to pivot, to change, but also have the determination that you can make it. So you don't have to be the best looking person or the most connected or the fittest or even the smartest. If you've got grit, you will outlast everybody and you'll get your end results because you will make sure that happens. Grit or resilience becomes your superpower. So that's what we're going to be exploring today, hopefully sharing some stories from the audience and ourselves about how grit affects, and also maybe defining some extra elements that we can put into it. So you can, if you're not tapping into your grit superpower, then certainly you can start using it a lot more effective. So we're just going to throw that out to everybody. Now, the way to join us on stage is very simple. If you put your hand up, then we'll bring you on stage. When you do get on stage, then please be respectful of time. So no more than 60 seconds, which includes an introduction to you, the challenge you're facing, or the comment you want to make, and then a question. If you go on longer than that, I will probably interrupt. So don't tell long stories, because unless they go to a point, then I'm going to have to jump in. Now, that's not meant out of disrespect. It's purely meant so we can get as many people to chat as possible during the hour that we have. And it is being recorded, and so I will put it onto YouTube later on for anybody that misses anything, or you want to catch up with it and put it on your car and listen to it later on. Then that's the general plan that goes with it. So in the time I've known Debbie, which has been about 2 years, and the time I've known Aziza, which has been what feels like most of my life, it's my wife, so it feels like that. We've only been married not even 20 years. But I know that the importance of having grit really kicked in more than anything when the pandemic hit. Because whatever we were doing in our work lives, in our personal lives, I was hosting big events around the world, teaching people to speak. Aziza was an award-winning photographer, but then the pandemic hit and we lost everything. So we had to reinvent ourselves, but keep moving forward. But the moving forward is important because what we reinvented from that has turned into this group and various other groups that we're looking after and various projects that we're doing in communities. So when you do have a challenge that comes along, it's about digging deep, discovering who you are, and being able to move on and grow as a direct result of having it. It's very important. So what I want to do is throw the microphone open to the audience. And I can see there we've got Raymond, Molly, Faye, Joanne, and Zara. Some of our familiar faces and friends who are regularly coming out to play, which is fantastic. Does anybody like to jump on stage and share their thoughts or feelings so far? What I will say is, if you are interested in this whole subject, or in fact any of these subjects, then make sure you're part of our Turbocharge Your Career group. I may give a roundup of the sessions that you've missed if you just joined us now. But we have been analysing what really breaks down grit and the effectiveness it can have for you when you master it and use it in your own life, in your personal life and business life as well. So all you got to do to join us on stage, just put your hand up and then I can see who wants to speak, and then I'll invite you up onto the stage. And there we go. And if you get really boring, I'll have to ask you to leave. Not really, but yes, really. Okay. So there you go. Debbie, what's your experience then of grit? Because was it something that you were aware of before, or is it something that's come from being part of the Game Changers and part of our community?
I would say it's something that I've been aware of before.
Mm-hmm.
I'm an only girl with three brothers, so you have to be resilient and you have
Oh.
to be able to step up. So yeah,
Was it
no, no,
so,
no.
so when you
Say
learnt
again.
it, did you learn it by accident, or did you make a decision at some point in your life that the only way this is going to work if I take charge myself and drive this with or without other people's support? Because certainly with brothers, they can either be your protectors, or they can just ignore you and do their own thing, and or you might end up even if the big brother's becoming their protector, as often happens with girls and they've got brothers. And what was your situation?
I think for me, it was my dad was very much, it makes no difference whether you're a boy or a girl, you need to be able to prove yourself. You need to step up. You need to, no excuses. So that was like the mentality that I always had. And then I had brothers who challenged me. They were very protective outside the family, but within, they definitely challenged me. So there was no crying over spilt milk kind of thing. You had to just take it on the chin and say, you know what? I am more than capable. I can do this. And I love my brothers for it because it made it easier to face the outside world.
Can I ask you a bit of a personal question then? Because does that mean that your end result is that you're still close to your brothers? Or does that mean that you went through these kind of experiences and grew apart after the challenges that you faced and the decisions that you made as a direct result?
I am still very close to my brothers. We are all completely different. They are very strong and they're really accomplished in their own right. We are very, very, very different, but they are still my biggest fans and I love them to pieces.
It's amazing. Well, I don't like to talk about my own experience in this, but I can say that I am not close to my sisters. Whatever grit we went through, or they're still going through, actually ripped us apart. And so our relationship is certainly not a direct benefit from going through that. I think in our own way we went through it, but I don't think we came together. Now, as I say, I don't want to talk too much about it, but I think the challenge that might be unique to us is the fact that we were growing up in a world where if you were of color, it was really difficult to be able to hold your own. And I think we might have imploded as a direct result, found our own way. And it didn't come from being in part of a community. It just came from finding our own way forward. So all of us are strong, all of us are doing well, but we just don't do it as a family, which is a real shame. I don't know if that's the same as anybody else in the room who had similar experiences. Well, maybe you're blessed and you're close together, or maybe you found that to do grit, you've had to step away from everybody. One thing I found certainly is that I do outgrow a lot of the groups that I work with career-wise. And I found that when I was working with certain jobs, in order to move on from it, or you get pushed out of it, or you lose your job, or you find a better option, it's really hard to feel real ownership of where you used to be because you've evolved into something stronger or evolved into something that's different. And I think that that's something that shouldn't be mocked too much because I think it's a natural part of what happens in life. What do you think of that, ladies?
I agree. I agree 100%. I mean, I'm sorry that things haven't worked out the way that in an ideal situation you would all see that you are all still very much one and the same because you have that bond of whatever forged you to be the characters that you are. However, life is all about our own journey, our own responsibilities and being accountable for ourselves. So yeah, sending love.
Thank you. It was a beautiful insight that Aziza and I had a little while ago. We are talking about families, and I think everyone's got bonkers families. And it's a phrase, people say blood is thicker than water. And that didn't make sense because the way that you send it out, blood is thicker than water, is really a call to action that your family are more important than your friends. So it's a rallying call. Dump all your friends, come back, the family's decided that you're going to do this. And so Aziza investigated this. Aziza, do you want to talk about this or do you want me to share your findings on this?
No, go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so we looked into it, or Aziza looked into it, and blood is thicker than water is actually just a little part of the overall phrase. Now, I know I've mentioned this in a previous session, but I think it's a really important thing to know when you're talking about grit and you're talking about who's going to be there to support you on the way. So the phrase what you say is blood is thicker than water, but the actual truth is the phrase is, and I'm not sure if it's a Bible phrase, but it says the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. And what that translates as is the blood of a covenant, which is a group of people that you choose to be part of, is thicker than the actual blood of the womb of the family that you're born into. So that would say that throughout your life, you're creating new family of people that are like-minded, who support you, love you, want to be with you, want to help you, as opposed to what most people think it is, which is reject those people. Family has told you must do it a certain way. And I find that fascinating because I hear lots of people quoting the old version of it without the full phrase. Zara, what are your thoughts on this? You need to unmute.
Thank you. Grand morning to everybody. It is said that self-belief, hard work, and determination will always earn you success, right? In Cordoba, and she's here with me for the last more than 2 months, and she left everything over there in the Spain just to understand this relationship between me and her. And that's a perfect example of grit, because she's missing her. She's now understanding 2 different cultures. So I give her props. Thank you, Anna.
I appreciate that.
This is just a small share.
I actually, unfortunately, I blipped out a little bit. I pressed the wrong button, and for some reason, it took me completely out of the group, which is kind of freaking me out now because I can't find the controls. Can everyone still? There we go. Can't hear me at all, actually.
Sorry, I'm just trying to get where Dave is. Okay.
Back again. Sorry about that. I accidentally pressed the wrong button. It cleaned out my entire screen. I lost everybody. When I came back, I was muted, and half the screen was missing. So I blame whoever's hacking into us. Sorry, carry on. Where were we?
Yeah, so I was saying that myself and Dave, because Dave's been away from his home country for 30 years and I've been away for 20 years. Well, I was excited to leave. I don't know about Dave. But yeah, it does take a lot for somebody to just leave where your comfort, where your family, where your love is, to go and start somewhere new. That takes a lot. You're right, Sarah.
Yes, because she's sitting next to me, and now every day is like a challenge for us, because the culture where she has been brought up, how she was raised, and everything is totally different from here in Pakistan. So that's the challenge, and she keeps on posting her feelings on LinkedIn, and keep telling his loved ones, keep staying in contact with his loved ones, talking daily with his family to keep herself engaged, and she's writing everything on the LinkedIn, making her contents on a daily basis. So we love her the way she is, and we are helping her the way we can.
I think to add to that, we're going through a completely different time in history than we've ever had before. Not that we've never had expats or people that move around the world, but we've never had the access to the internet the way that we have now, and social media and connection. So it doesn't make it such a big thing to live away from your home country. You can get access to your family online and through social media, but what it does mean is you're kind of creating your own little country around you, or at least your own persona. And so it can be daunting and it can be difficult, because as you're creating this and getting mistakes and learning as you go, you are in full view of everybody at the same time. And I think that can make a bit of a challenge. I mean, for one of the things that I've noticed in Dubai, and I apologize as an example for everybody who's not been to Dubai, but one of the things is, when you're looking at the challenge of how to connect with people from all around the world, then it also means that you've got to take in a version of their experience into yours. And sometimes they don't easily mix, even if you do. The culture doesn't, but you do. And so that could be a real difficult element. Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does make sense, Dave. Here, why? Because Dubai is different from Pakistan. So in Pakistan, it's totally different, totally different. Especially for a person coming from Europe, staying here for more than like 2 months is like a big challenge. So
Definitely.
As long as you are supporting Zara and you're making sure
the
that
whole family is supporting her, from the kids to the elders. Everybody is engaging her with her feelings, that we can do our best for her.
sending
Sure.
her a lot of love.
I mean, I don't know what the simple answer to this is, apart from I would seek help from the internet or from things you can read for that kind of experience. Because what tends to happen, and for Dubai as an example, I keep referring back to that because for me as an expat, it's been most of my life have been here. What Dubai did for many years was it did recruitment in different countries, certainly the hospitality industry. So you'd get a wave of different waiters and bartenders from different countries. Suddenly everybody would be from Ireland, or they'd be from South Africa, or they'd be from Nigeria, or they'd be from India, because they were just bringing lots, or Eastern Europe. And I think that somewhere along the line, there will be records of people saying how difficult it was to deal with that. And so I don't think that in the case here that anyone's alone. I think that there is enough evidence to be able to work out how to do it, but there will be a formula for that. We can maybe dedicate that to a different show because, I mean, Aziz and I talked about being an expat kid. You know, how our daughter Maya lives with having, you know, a Brit dad and a Singaporean mum and being in a country that's not our own. And that's a challenge as well. So there's a lot to be said for that. Anyway, Almasa, how are you?
Hello, hi, Dave. So happy to be part of that group, you know, for once that I can attend the podcast. So this is so interesting, and I will not make it like self-centered, but I have a very heavy history when it comes to that, because from the beginning I was rejected by my mom, who thought I was a boy, and she asked my grandma to raise me for the 5 first years of my life, which completely shambled me emotionally. But in such case scenario, you have two solutions. Either you turn totally frustrated and bitter and angry, or you decide to shine and be outstanding, which is the solution I adopted. And at the age of 17, I cut all my family ties by leaving for England. Then I moved to Cannes, where 500 kilometers away from my family, and I've rebuilt myself slowly but surely in different manners. And it's really interesting to see how you can be stuck into some standards of family that you don't choose. You know, your blood is something that you inherited, but you don't choose it. So there is two types of family: the biological one and the one you create by yourself, which are totally different. And it's all based how you adapt to the culture, because culture is the engine and the fuel that allows you to be implemented in any environment and make it your comfort zone.
Yeah, I agree with you completely. Do you feel completely comfortable then? Because we've known each other in Dubai for quite a long time. Did you find that Dubai was conducive to all that? Because everybody's kind of a bit like that here, so nobody's being pointed at as being different.
I mean, I arrived to Dubai, I was 53. I totally reinvented myself, and I totally found my dimension, because it's a land of opportunity made of a very multicultural material where everybody respects anyone, respect the religion, respect the nationality, respect the color, skin, and so on, which is far away from the French standards, you know, where everybody hates each other, even if you are French from the next county. And I have totally, the thing is, and it's all, I think it's the secret, I've managed in Dubai to reach the self-acceptance level, which is a blessing in life, because once you reach that, this is the key to be totally at ease in any place with anyone.
Yes.
And the energy and the dynamic of Dubai, the tolerance, the whole social game push you into that big time. So if you have the right material, you totally exude it. You know, you really go for it, and it's really it's a blessing. But it's not meant for everyone, because if you have a very conservative mind where you are stuck into your I mean, my sister, I have a family that that I've left behind. And because they are so rigid, they will never understand that type of living, and they will not cope with it because they live in the fear of what people will say, and they totally refer to the very severe bourgeois value we were raised up. And it's making your life like you look decent, you are decent, but are you happy? That's a question. Are you do you do what you want? That's another question. Do you reach the goal you want? Because the ambition is limited in such case scenario. Whenever you are loose in such an ocean like Dubai, where there is many multiple opportunities, many multiple encounters, which can be actually it's not all pink, because it can be a lot of scammers, a lot of dodgy situation you need to escape, but we build that resilience that you need to survive, and after that to make an history.
No, I agree with you completely. I think that one of the unfortunate things about our experiences, it sometimes does show us exactly who our family and friends are. And we bring out the best and the worst of everybody. But life's too short to try and change anybody. You can't change anybody. They can only change themselves. And you can change yourself. So sometimes one of the things that you have to do is let them go. I found it fascinating when in the times I've been studying philosophy and studying, mindset and all the rest of it, how many so-called gurus grow to where they are but leave even their partners behind. Because as they become more spiritual, or become more obsessive with the stuff that they're really interested in, it can mean that the conversations drain other people, or that other people try and change them from going down that particular path. And if that path is part of the process, and they are driven by it because it's the most important thing, it's obsession with them to see what they can get out of their lifetime, sometimes that traveling partner can't continue with you, maybe to meet you further on down the line, or maybe not. I had a strangest experience last night where I caught up with my best friend of over 43 years, and we jumped on a Zoom call, had a chat. We'd not talked like that for about a year, and it's like we'd never ever stopped talking to each other on a daily basis. It didn't matter. We're on the same conversation. I didn't judge him. He didn't judge me. We didn't need to catch up on anything. We just needed to talk about where we were right now, and we did 2 hours of goodness knows what, putting the world to rights. And I think when you get the right people and you get what's probably the right Wi-Fi code for communicating with them, then you don't need to have all that extra baggage. You just instantly know who they are, where they are. And those are people sometimes you meet at events, and sometimes they're people that if you're lucky enough, it becomes your partner, or sometimes they're friends or somebody else's partner, but you get a really good relationship, a friendship, because they resonate. Even if, one of the things I find fascinating about, for instance, being a dad, is how much you get to know the parents at the school, because you may have completely different backgrounds, jobs, interests, but you have an interest in the success of your kid. And that's a great bonding process. So it's interesting what you can get from that. What I'm going to share on this, by the way, for everybody who's just joined us in the group, welcome to our podcast. We do it live once a week, normally on a Sunday, but I'm traveling to Saudi, so we can't do it on Sunday. So good to see you today. It's being recorded and it'll be available on YouTube. If you have a look at all the content, the comments that we have, we've got our WhatsApp group, and I'll be sharing them there. And in fact, I'll share in this post where you can watch the full audio. Again, I say watch the audio, it's just me talking to a screen, but your voices are there as well. So let me talk you through what's been happening in our WhatsApp group, which is Turbocharge Your Career 5-Day Challenge. We've been looking at grit and resilience, and so I'll talk you through what the steps are. And that means I'm actually cheating for the people who are halfway through the course, but I'm sure you'll forgive me. So day one is all about understanding grit and resilience. What does it mean for you? Capturing the essence of what really drives you and understanding your personal discovery of your own journey, because then if you don't know if you're on a journey, you won't know whether you got to fix it or stay with it. And that could be a massive challenge, because at some point you go, you know what, I'm not doing what everybody else is doing. I need to do what I do. Dates is about identifying your challenges, understanding the readiness to confront and navigate. And it's sometimes professional, sometimes it's personal, but then you realize that these are challenges or obstacles in the way. They're not problems, because problems, need to be solved, I guess, but they're things that are just going to test you. So day 3 is about strategies for resilience, understanding how to climb, understanding how to get stuff and work it out. Like, for instance, when we talk about vision boards, for everybody who's created a vision board with all the images of the things that you want to have in your life, and you put them on a poster, on a PowerPoint, and you stick them all together and you print them out, have them on your phone or on your desktop. What's more effective is not to have the pictures, but actually to work out the business models of how you get those things to be in reality. So you get the pictures there and you say, well, how do I do that? Reverse engineer each one. And I've got steps I've got to take. Let's work on that. That's how you turn them into reality. So the strategies for resilience is day 3. Tomorrow's day 4. It's going to be about building your support network. And this group is part of my support network. I really, really do value everybody who's in here who comes to join us. And when you come back and become familiar faces, it's almost like creating your own family. And it really does feel like that. The conversations we have in here are probably more than I have with most people. And everyone's open and transparent and honest, which is fantastic. So building a support network that's going to help you and carry you and support you on your journey is important. And finally, on day 5, reflecting on your growth and the next steps that you need to take, because one day it'll be all over. Until then, the adventure continues. And it's really important to be able to work out what that means to you. Now, before we go to another speaker, and by the way, if you just joined us in the group, if you'd like to put your hand up, then we can put you onto the stage and you can share your thoughts or ask a question or even contribute in some way. We only run this for an hour and we've got about half an hour left. I want to share with you a podcast I was listening to the other day while driving back from school after dropping Maya off. And it was Stephen Bartlett talking to an expert on what life is all about. So let me just give me 2 minutes for this. So the guy was a director. He's a 4th director of a project that's been running since the 1950s, investigating what happens to somebody's life and the challenges that they go through until the very end. So it's really about grit. So what it was is 725 families, and the studies out of Harvard, I believe, where they got what they thought in the 50s was an average human being, which of course were all young white males from Harvard, which is not your average human being. So they took about half of the group. Half of the families came from there, and the other half came from families from difficult places in town that had challenges like crime or unemployment or whatever it is. And they studied to see what happened to the people who managed to came from a family that had crime and challenges, but managed to evade all that and become success stories. So they studied these people. They brought them in, they tested them, they asked them questions, and they compiled all this content. So that was about 84 years ago. The guy was a 4th director because all the previous directors had died of old age. And he was offered by his mentor at university, would you like to take over this project? So a number of things came out of this. One thing I'll just say before we actually move into the findings, they've got 30 brains that are put inside for studying, that are being donated by some of the people who are originally on the study. They said, keep my brain. And it seems a bit creepy. Why would he keep somebody's brain? Well, normally what happens when you study somebody's brain is you have to look at, the brains that get donated are people, who had a car accident or a tumor or something like that. But the difference with these brains is you've got 30 people who had successful lives, but you can study from the minute they joined the program everything that happened at the age of 20, 30, 40, 50. And you can see the brain activity and what happened with that. So it's a study of successful brains, which is really good for the science part of it. So we found a couple of things. First of all, the happiness of all the people who were on the course was not given by their financial results, nor was it given by the challenges that they'd been through, nor was it given by the fact that they'd become famous. When I say challenges, it's results, as in, look at me, I've got this, all my awards, all my accolades, look at all this. They found that the right people who got successful lives were just happy on a regular basis, doing what they wanted to do in their life. Not looking at other people and saying, I've got to be like them, but looking at themselves and working out who they needed to be and what they need to get out of life. And I think it's a massive study. So I think you'll find that kind of useful. I wanted to share that. Any thoughts on the people in the group, the guys who got on stage first, and then we'll throw it to anybody who wants to join us on stage and share their thoughts or insights with that. What do you reckon, Debbie?
I thought thought that was actually fascinating. It's pretty much like a tree. I guess you can see the rings of what a tree has endured the same way you can with a brain.
Definitely. But I found it fascinating because of that. But also, the guy who is sharing it, he's a Zen master. I mean, he's like a ninja for Zen. And his wife doesn't get it, but she does accept it. And she does appreciate that he's happy. So his journey is his. But at the same time, she's his wife. So they live together. They enjoy. He meditates all the time. She has no time for, no interest for meditation. But they find a way to coexist, which is kind of important for that to be an impact.
So just to clarify, so this is one of the guys that was from the original 1950s.
No. They've all died. This is a guy who was brought. He's quite old by the sound of it. He sounded like he was in his 70s. Very Yoda style talking fella. But he was a fourth director. So basically, they nominate somebody to take over the project so they can carry on studying people. So they've studied generations. So the original people that went through, the original 700 odd families, they've all got kids. Or many of them got kids. So the kids then join the program if they're happy to do that. And so on and so they've got grandkids of the originals so we can study what really happened. And it's a most in-depth study that's ever been done of this subject anywhere in the world.
That's actually really, really interesting. It's nice to know that there is that kind of track record. It has proven track record. I love that. I absolutely love that. And with your comment about the wife and him being different, but I guess that's where differences attract, because you need to be looking for other ways to appeal to your own peace, your own Zen.
I think so, and there's nothing wrong with having different people that are different. I mean, for anybody who's a manager or works in business, then you'll know that one of the first strategies to growing a team is not to employ people like you. You need to get people who've got completely different skills, interests, backgrounds. Otherwise, all you do is the same thing 4 times or 10 times, and you're not ready for new things that come in. One thing about Aziza and I, as an almost 20-year married couple, yes, we do argue a lot. But we've got very complementary skills. Aziza is brilliant at admin and operations, and she does sweat the small stuff. For me, I'm up in the clouds. I just see the chance to create stuff and move on. And so typically, this session is very much me and Aziza. Aziza's behind the scenes, researching and sharing content and ideas, whereas for me, I'm at the front just talking until I get bored or everybody leaves. And I think finding the right balance is kind of useful for that. So here's what I'm going to do. Our dear friend Hope has joined us. I'm going to give him one chance to see if it works out the internet. And if you can do this, Hope, and we can hear you properly, then fantastic. Otherwise, we're not going to keep you on the stage. But I love you to bits, and I think you're an amazing person. Hope, how are you? It's not a good sign. You need to unmute yourself, my friend. And for anybody who's been listening or watching these podcasts on a regular basis, then you'll know this is almost like not a running joke, but a running challenge. See if Hope's got internet strong.
Sorry.
Hello.
Can you hear me, dude?
I can hear you.
Hello, can you hear me?
Yeah, I can.
Yeah, good morning. I'm sorry. I came in late. I was trying to check a code. My friend sent me a code. I was asked to replicate Nike website. So it's one of our assignments in a coding class. So I'm sorry. I was just trying to check it on WhatsApp. All right. So what I need to contribute is I discovered a study in Harvard University where they were doing. It's still going on. The research is still going on. Where they try to find out what makes people happy, what gives them the passion to keep on driving every day. And what they were able to discover, and for now, like I said, the research is still going on in Harvard University. So they found out that what makes people live long, basically that's what the research is about. What makes people live long is because they found out that it's because they were happy. So and what makes people happy is the passion they have, right? Dave, you with me?
I'm losing you a little bit, Hope. We'll stick with you for a little longer. What was the passion that I needed to have? Because I'm losing your voice a little. Okay.
Yeah.
We've lost you there. We've lost you, Hope. Not to worry, thank you. I'm going to continue the conversation, and what I suggest is type your answers into the comments, and then we'll be able to illustrate and share them on your behalf. So one of the things that came from that, as Hope was talking about, is those people who have got partners who are, well, it's not even partners. Here's the thing: if you've got somebody who is in a relationship with you, whether it's a boyfriend, girlfriend, husband, wife, long-term friend, best friend, adult child who dotes on you, and you got a really good relationship, you live on average, I must say that it's about 12 years longer for males and 7 years longer for females. It could be the other way around. It's probably probably by luck the other way around. But what it is the ability to then de-stress. Get rid of stress, because the person who is with you cares about you. They say that loneliness is toxic, and it is as dangerous as going to the doctor and finding out you've got some kind of disease that can't be cured. Loneliness is a massive killer. And so it's really important to be able to reach out to people on your gritty challenge, on your adventure. And that's why it's so important. I mean, this is one of the reasons why having this session once a week, for many people, it's just, it's a bit of fun to have a look at and listen and so on. But for the group of us that jump on stage and chat, I think it's a very important part of our week, because that ability just to let your hair down, listen to other people's stuff, is kind of what keeps it all going. And Aziza and I are dedicated to creating communities of people that can have that experience, because life's very short. And when we came around to the pandemic, we realized that being isolated is brutal, and sometimes it's really hard to snap out of. And that's one of the reasons that we put this session together, to get everyone to get an opportunity to chat and hopefully be part of our community. So hello to Joanne and to Molly and to Faye and to Hiba and Awais and Joanne again. And Hope, who came on stage earlier, and unfortunately his internet goes quite a lot, but we love him anyway, because when he does join us, he says some amazing things. Now, talk about saying amazing things, Joanne, I'm not going to let you on at 5 to 2, and suddenly then you start a 10-minute, 15-minute conversation with Debbie. If you're going to say something, you've got to come out to play now. So I'm just telling you now, because I know what you're like. You're probably eating your cornflakes and thinking, no, I'm just on my PlayStation. I've just got to finish that. Joanne, how are you?
Good morning. I was just quite happy listening to you all, but okay, I'll come up on stage and say something. Great conversation as always, Dave.
Thank you. Well, it's always a pleasure having you here. So you've been involved in the Turbocharge Your Career 5-Day Challenge more than before this time. And I always get curious as to why we don't get everybody jumping in and going, I want to share. Now, some of the things is people are shy, some people are busy, but I also think that in many cases, observing like you've just done in the group is how people learn. They don't want to put this stuff out there. They prefer to see what the strategies are with other people and then catch up on what they should be doing. What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, it's true. I mean, some people like to just sit back, and for me personally, I haven't been participating quite a lot, but I've been looking through the group. Now, there's a thing about WhatsApp groups, it's very busy, so I'd be just popping in and having a read. But this week with your challenge this week, I found it very intriguing, and I think it's a very, very relevant, very important, very powerful topic. With the change that we want in the world, because we do need to have a change, like seriously, we need to have a change in the world. And I think it's a change of attitude, change of perspective, because we've all had shit happen to us over the years, we've all had it. And I think part of being a human being is the purpose of the life of a human being is to learn from our experiences to help us evolve. And I often wondered, why does everybody have some kind of a trauma? There's different levels of trauma. And I often wondered why is that? And I think that's the very reason. It's for us to learn from it so we can grow and evolve. And we are becoming better human beings, and we're becoming more enlightened, if you like. And this is part of the journey of human beings. So yeah, that's what I think.
I think you're right, but here's the thing, and it's something that as somebody who, I don't call myself a leader necessarily, but I do think it's important to be able to help people as much as possible. I am under no illusion that the things I do are going to make a big impact on the rest of the world. All I can do is make as best an impact as I can on the people who decide that they want to come out to play with me, and also on my life as well. Because in 50 years' time, 100 years' time, 500 years' time, not a single one of us is going to be relevant. So with that in mind, sitting back and watching is important. You've got to be in a comfort zone, or as I prefer, outside of my comfort zone all the time. But I think that you can leave things very late, and maybe you shouldn't. Maybe more people should jump up and do things that are scary for them, because then the
Yeah.
results come a lot faster as to what you need to do out of it.
Yeah, and I think it's really important, Dave. I'm so glad you said that. And look, I'm not perfect, and we're all not perfect, and that's the whole point of this, right? But you're setting an example, or anybody who's a leader or stands up and says something is setting an example, and it's actually giving other people permission to share their stuff as well. And what's great about it is when we show our vulnerabilities, you might be whoever, you might appear to people to be this amazing icon person or whatever, and up there on a pedestal, but we're all human beings as well. That's the whole point. And we all have our vulnerabilities, and we all have shit that's happened to us. And when we share that, it tells other human beings, oh, they're just like me. And then they can come out and play, and they feel safe, and they can relate. And I think that's the whole point. So I think it's really important that we do share our shit, so.
Definitely. I mean, I love watching the documentaries that you get with big stars on Netflix. So more recently, I watched the Robbie Williams one, which was fascinating, and the David Beckham one, which is fascinating. And I watched one all about the actual captains of the football teams in the World Cup. Now, these subjects might be boring to many of the people in the group, which I understand completely, but I don't look at it from the point of view of who they are and what they've achieved. I look at what actually happens behind the scenes. And so when somebody like Robbie Williams, and if you don't know Robbie Williams, is a very famous British pop star, probably one of the most famous British pop stars of all time. He was a basket case from the moment he got put into Take That at the age of 16, which is one of the biggest groups that the Britons ever had, most successful boy band of all time, I think longer than the Beatles in their success as well. In fact, the Beatles, believe it or not, had split up by the time they were 29. I don't know if most people know that. But anyway, so Robbie Williams, in the documentary, it's just 3 parts to it. He's sat there in his underwear with his vest on, with his kids coming in and out of the room, and he's basically looking at a laptop with clips of things that happened to him in his life. And then there's footage, and he gives a voiceover, and so on. And you realize that the curse of being Robbie Williams is that most of his life he was scared, on his own, lonely, didn't trust anybody, and just went bonkers. And I mean, my one claim to fame of Robbie Williams is in the early days when Take That got together, I was actually broadcasting on a radio in Hull, Viking Radio, and so I got to meet Take That during an early start of their career, and I met them all behind the stage. In the days when we used to wear leather or rubber or whatever. And so I met all the guys. Of course, they won't remember that. And I barely remember myself because I was only about 12. No, I wasn't. I was a bit older. So there you go. But with Beckham, the same thing. Beckham had this incredible career that the world turns around and says, wow, it must be great to be David Beckham. But what they don't realize is he's got massive OCD. And so every single day, while the rest of the family goes to bed, he goes around with a pair of scissors and cuts the candles to the right length throughout his entire house. He makes sure that all his trousers and all his jackets are lined up exactly right colors, exactly the right lengths, and he cleans all the pots, puts everything away long after everyone's gone. Now, this is one of the world's biggest sports stars, but you wouldn't know that he's got that challenge that he's got to deal with. So how does that come into perspective? What does that mean? Well, maybe that's what's made him such an amazing footballer, because of his attention to detail. So we're all carrying stuff that makes it successful for us, but at the same time, there is a yin and yang to everything. So that's the thoughts on it. Right, does anybody want to jump on stage and add something? Because otherwise I blabber a lot. I tend to do that. We've only got about 11 minutes left. So if you want to put your hand up and join us, then you're very welcome to do that. We're talking about grit and resilience and what makes people last and makes them successful in what they do. And we've already established that family can be there to help you, and family can also be there to detriment against you. But I also think the challenge can be that maybe they just don't get it. Debbie, what are your thoughts on this?
Well, pretty much. Firstly, Hope, so sorry that we couldn't hear you clearly again, but it's always a pleasure that you come out to support and try to join. Joanne and Almasa, always a pleasure having you both on stage. I did actually want to say, and I just wanted to add to my story earlier. I'm not saying that me and my brothers, sing Kumbaya and sit by the campfire. We've all had our challenges, but that's the reality of life. But now, as we've all evolved and we've gone full stage, I love every single one to the max because we see each other for who we are.
That's great.
But I did actually. Oh, sorry, go on.
I was going to say, I'm glad you got that because many people don't.
And I just wanted to say something that Aziza had mentioned earlier is that trauma is actually from people with generational change. So it could be something which could have come down from grandparents, could have come down from parents, they all had a very different thinking, as I've got very different thinking to my own kids. And that we are now the ones that are saying no thanks, and we are now the ones that are making our own way, as our kids are doing the same.
Fantastic, because that's leading on to a good area that we could look at for the final part of today's session, which is what is it that we do that we can then pass on to the next generation, either our kids or if we haven't got kids, people who are coming after us. What can we leave, or should we leave anything to make it easier for them to be able to have a much more successful ride as they go? What are your thoughts on that? Go on.
Dave, I love that question. I think it's really important because our children look up to us, and our children don't learn from what we tell them what to do. They learn from who we are being. And I had this conversation with someone only yesterday. When we get into a bad mood or whatever, it's really important that we tell our children, I'm sorry this happened, I was feeling sad or whatever, and to show our children that we don't hold it all together all the time, because then that gives our children permission to be sad and to say when they're sad and to express it, because self-expression is really important. And when I was growing up, it was all children should be seen and not heard, and self-expression is really, really important to we all know to release those emotions or whatever. But I also love what Hope said about the happiness thing, because we're all living our life so seriously. And when we can be happy and play the game, play life as a game, like you said, Dave, it brings an element of we can tackle our problems, if you like, from a different angle, and it raises our vibration to enable us to look at it more effectively, to see it differently in a different light.
I couldn't agree more. I'm going to add an extra bit on top of it, which is one of the things that I personally discovered, which is gamifying your life. So treat it like a video game when you're like, the video games that we used to have in arcades, or if you're playing PlayStation, whatever it would be. So you've got power-ups, and you've got different things that you can do to add extra elements as you increase your knowledge, or you get fitter, or you eat certain food. And every day is like a brand new game. So you wake up, there's a new start to the game, and you start going into whatever you need to do. If you gamify your life and you're able to take it for what it is, which is every day you get a chance to add extra bits to it, suddenly it stops becoming this long procession of challenges where you might not feel that you're winning, because when you wake up, it's a brand new life you've got. It's a new day, it's a new character. You can just add to that one and make more of it. And when you make it fun, it stops becoming so much of a challenge. Even bad days become good days when you know that you can add to it to make it better. And I think you have to have bad days to be able to understand what makes it, a good day afterwards. But leaning back into the question that I asked earlier, which is about how do you make sure that the next generation are benefiting from you? Aziza, did you want to add something there? Because I know that you've looked into gratitude journals and so on before. Do you want to add something to that?
I don't know what you want me to say. I'm just listening in. Just carry on.
Okay, so what I was going to say is, as you're growing and you're learning, I think social media can give you the opportunity to share some ideas with people that they can click into and get some value from. I think writing books can be good as well. Or I think donating your time or your energy to, it doesn't have to be that you grow this huge following of lots of different people, because just going back to this Harvard study where we're talking about, what really makes happiness. Our new idea of fame is driven by the amount of likes and loves and comments and stuff that we get from the work that we do. So you post something and it goes viral. Well, hey, everybody loves you, think you're fantastic. Well, no, that's not necessarily true. They might just be playing a certain game of their own. It might be the algorithm washed up your content in front of them. I think there's a lot of joy that's got to be got from what you create around you. And in many ways, that's what this group, for me, certainly, is creating. Aziza, did you want to jump back in again?
Yeah, I understand now what you want me to say. Okay, so quick story. Got a parent friend who turned around to me and said, Aziza, I think I'm going to move to another country because I don't think this country makes me happy. So I said, which country in the world will make you happy? I said, for me, this country makes me happy. You know why? Because I've got my own space. I've got my own family that I choose to be with. And I said, if you move anywhere else, if you yourself are not happy inside, you can be in the middle of Maldives and still be unhappy. So it's back again to the phrase that you brought up earlier, blood is thicker than water, or actually the blood of the covenant is thicker than the water of the womb. So when you choose your person, your person, it could be your friend, your partner, your daughter, your son, your person. That is the most important person in the world, because that person will have to understand you. Now, and then back to your other question about how do we change our children to make their life better. When I went for therapy, my therapist said to me, Aziza, start a gratitude journal. And so I got the whole family, including Dave, to actually sit down every night and write down what they're grateful for. And obviously, it's going to be a bit difficult when you first start, because you'd be like, what am I supposed to write in my book? So you can just write, I'm happy, I'm grateful for a roof over my head, or I'm grateful that I can have dinner, or I'm grateful I've got this blue pen that I really wanted. But as you train your brain to see the good things that you have around you, then you won't be full of complaining or like, oh, I'm so depressed, I'm so this. Instead of you go, okay, I've got this problem. What's the solution? Does that make sense?
It makes perfect sense. I'm going to say one word, orange. So remember I said that, and then go to Debbie, because I know you want to say something on this. Over to you, Debbie.
All right, yeah, thanks. There were 2 points I wanted to make there. I do agree with what Aziza says, that wherever you are, if you can't find happiness, then it's pointless moving on. However, sometimes a fresh perspective and a fresh view can do you the world of good, because you'll always travel with those connections. You'll always travel with the bonds that you have made, but you have the insight, the knowledge, and the wisdom to be able to create more. And the other point was, when you're talking about children, I was thinking about the legacy that I created for my kids. Was I pretty much explained to them that I was doing the best that I could with what I had at the time, and I still maintain that with all of my kids, and to always be grateful for the little things. So even though my household is full of different religions, before every meal we would always express some form of gratitude, simply because that was a way for everybody to understand the simplicity and to allow the understanding of the growth that gratitude has in all of our lives.
I love it. Debbie, you're one of my favourite people in the world anyway. I know Aziza feels the same way. And I won't mention the circumstances that you go through, but you're putting three kids for university and with careers and so on, single-handedly, and still bringing a smile and still joining us and still supportive, and you're a star. I know that there's other people have other stories here, but I just want to share that with you. And thanks for sharing this. I'm going to throw one thing in there, which I think complements what everyone said so far. And I said the word orange, and there's a reason for it. Wayne Dyer, who is no longer with us, but is a very famous philosopher and thought leader, talked about the idea that if you were to squeeze an orange, what would come out? Well, the simple answer is orange juice. Well, why? Because it's an orange and there's orange inside. And the reason for bringing that conversation up is because if you're looking around the world and all you see is torment and challenges and hate and upset, the reason you see it is because it's direct reflection of the hate and the challenge and the upset that you have internally. If you've sorted out what's going on inside you and you're at peace, then when you look outside of you, you notice the things that correlate on the same Wi-Fi code. And it doesn't mean that you can't notice other things going on. It's just that they don't affect you in the same way when you've managed to work out who you are and what you do. And that's why with emotional intelligence, it's so important to understand what makes you tick and understand what makes you happy. And that's why when you've got kids and you start looking after them, one of the biggest challenges is when you've got a baby that's crying, and every kid is a lot smarter than you think. So Maya used to cry, and Aziza would say, because I'm a dad, so I'm running into the room to see if there's a monster in the room. She says, leave her. I said, what, leave her? Why? Well, because that's not her crying. That's her crying noise for attention. There's a different crying noise when she's hurt herself. I don't know that. I'm a dad. I just go, okay. So, well, and then I go in and I'd see that, one eye was open to see if I was coming through but she closed them both when I got into the room and all sorts of tricks like that. But the reason for bringing that up is because one of the things that you can do for your kids when we're talking about next generation is when they are crying and they're babies, let them cry themselves to sleep. Now, that sounds counterintuitive and really cruel and horrible, but the reason for that is because it's been seen from studies that a baby who can cry themselves to sleep can also deal with the challenges in life a lot faster because they've come to a reckoning that maybe I can fix it, maybe I can't, but it's me that has to fix it. If you pick them up and you hug them every time there's a problem, then when you're not around anymore, or they're on their own with friends or challenges that are there, they're waiting for somebody to rescue them. And so, in many ways, all you can do is throw things out to people. And those who are there at the right time, they'll get it. Those who don't may resonate with them and come back to it later. And for others, it's like water off a duck's back. They don't get it at all. And in business, that was illustrated to me by watching, I think it was a podcast or a video. They're saying that when you advertise and market your business, about 5% of people will be looking for what you have at that given time and will turn around and buy it from you. The rest of them will ignore it, but they notice it. And when they're ready at that time, they'll come back to you. So it's not wasted. It is reaching people, but it might be that they're not ready for that yet. And sometimes when we're talking about grit and you're talking about your story and you're sharing with everybody, it will resonate with people and they do appreciate it, but it might not be their story or their interest. But you never know when they come across the same situation as you, and the wisdom that you shared is enough to be able to get them over their challenge or their hurdle, which means you should still share it and still put it out there as long as you're happy to deal with the consequences that it creates in you when you're so transparent with everybody. Gosh, that went deep very quickly, didn't it? As we're running out of time. So what I'm going to do now is move around our wonderful, gorgeous panel on stage and get everyone to give their thoughts on where we are today and maybe even an insight of what they learned or would like to share as part of today's session on grit. We will be doing grit again next Sunday from a slightly different angle. But what I will say before we go around to people on stage, first of all, thank you to everybody who's been in the room for this. Without you, it doesn't happen as a session. But what I do appreciate, if possible, is if you can leave a comment in the comments section about what you got from this session or whether it was useful for you or why you liked it, because that's what makes people want to come back and that's how we grow our community. And you're always welcome to come back to us with that. So let's start off by Almasa. Would you like to share with us your thoughts or feelings or insights or a comment you'd like to leave with?
Yeah, really, as usual, it's very insightful, and it's a great brainstorm of like-minded people with different backgrounds, and it's always very insightful. I really enjoyed it. And regarding the kids, I just want to add something because I'm teaching French to very, very young kids, like 2 years old and 4 years old and so on. And I've never had kids, but I have a vision of different authority. And one of the girl at the 2 years old, she's super, super whiny. She always cry. One day, and it's a class of 3. One day it was the grandma was with me, of the other students. And I said, I look on internet, why crying, So I said, what is your problem? Describe your problem. She keep on crying. And then I look at the other, I said, okay, for 1 minute, everybody will do the same like she's doing. And we all start to cry and, and she stopped immediately and she was completely astonished.
Is that because she was heard? Because she realized that she'd been heard by people?
She was not hurt. She was like, why people are sharing what I'm doing? Because she wants to have the attention.
Yes.
And, it was really, really funny. And then she stopped crying.
Yeah, no, what I mean is she was heard, not hurt. Heard.
Oh, heard.
Yeah, H-U-R-D, yes. H-E-A-R-D. Because maybe
yes.
What you'd done is her secret power was I can stand out by doing this. And as soon as you
Yes,
realize that, she's got to find something different.
exactly. Absolutely. You got it. You got it. That was
That's-
really funny.
I love
Really
it.
funny.
Thank you so
Hmm.
much for sharing that.
Well,
Joanne, over to you. Your thoughts, please.
What stood out for me was family, Dave. And I loved your breakdown of blood is thicker than water. And I looked up the word. I love looking up words. The origin of words. And familia is what originates from family. That Latin
Mm,
word, and it's familiar. What's familiar, and we need support in our ongoing journey in life and what have you. And this group here is the family because it's like-minded people, and that's what's familiar. And it's like close to home or close to the heart of what our values are, what matters to us. So that's just what I wanted to say about family and your group, Dave. Really appreciate it. Thank you.
thank you so much. It's beautiful to share. Aziza, do you want to come in on that?
It was a very good session today. I really enjoyed it. I'm looking forward to next week's session. Thank you for everybody turning up today. And yeah, like Dave said, really enjoyed today. Just share it, and then we have more people next week.
Absolutely. And when we get the podcast available for everyone once I've because it's recording right now, I'll share it in the on the post here and also in the WhatsApp group. Please share that with others so they can find it too. Debbie, over to you for the final word of today.
Well, thank you. Family, I would say we have no excuses. We can always go out and find other communities. We can always find other people. And even though it may be intimidating, it may feel like it's a challenge, I would honestly say that everybody should find like-minded people, and they should find communities that encourage them, motivate them, and help them grow.
That's beautiful.
And that is why I love Game Changers. Sorry.
And,
Thank
and
you.
if you can't find that community, build one. That's what we did. So that's what we're really grateful for. Thank you, Debbie, and you're, as a major part of that community, it's beautiful. There's one thing I'm going to say, and I had a chat with one of our group who's not in the group today, and he sent me a message a couple of days ago and said, why is it that you don't get that many people joining you on this podcast? He said, you've got all these different groups, all these different people around the world. He said, maybe you're not marketing it properly. Maybe you need to add this to it, add that to it. And I said, no. I said, the people that we get are such great quality. That's all I need. I'm not trying to get some massive group of like thousands of people so nobody gets a chance and everyone's trying to compete. This will grow organically. But the quality of what we have in here is what makes it work for me. And whether it's 4 people around a table or it's 10 people around, it doesn't matter. The very fact is that we have an amazing group of people, some of whom speak, some of whom watch, some of whom learn, but always support. And that's all I want. And I'll continue to do it while you guys turn up. I won't let you down. Me and Aziz will make sure, and Debbie as well, and Joanne and all the rest of the team on Massa, make sure that we're here for you when we can be here for you, to make sure that we share enough insights to help you on your journey, at least for 7 days after this and counting. So Game Changers, by the way, if you don't know about that, then check it out. We've got a number of different things. If you have a look actually in the comments or details section of this post, you can see that we've got a free Rockstar PDF for you. You can join our WhatsApp group. They're not highlighted. You have to cut and paste them and drop them into your browser. If you want to raise your game to become an industry icon, it's there as well. And we've got many upgrade programs for you there, and also our blog. Many of these things are free, by the way, so if you want more of what we do, then feel free to jump into that. But make sure you leave a comment for us, and that's really important for us because it lets us know we're doing a great job, and we'll be more than happy to do this again in the future. So we've gone on for a little longer than normal, but I think it was worth it just because of the quality of the conversations we've had here today, and they get better every single week, and that's only down to you. So thank you so much for your time and your effort and your energy and the love that you share with us in this room. Have an amazing weekend. I'm going to have a lot of fun going to Saudi and do my gig. I'm going to come back. I'll tell you all about it. But between now and then, on behalf of all our panel and yourselves as well, and Hope as well, who I didn't mention, but thank you, Hope, for joining us. And it's great to hear from you, even for the 30 seconds or so before the background jumped in. I just want to say thank you for being with us, and I wish you all the very best. And remember to jump and grow wings on the way down. Whatever comes at you, you are built to deal with it. That's what life does. You don't have any challenges that you can't deal with. So trust yourself And we'll be back next time for you on Speak on Stage. So have an amazing day. Thank you so much. All the very best, and goodbye. So that being said, that's the end of today's broadcast. I hope you enjoyed it and you got a lot from it. This is Speak on Stage. We come back every single week, whether it's a Friday or a Sunday, to share with you as many insights as possible with some amazing people who I just adore for the honesty and the brevity of their answers, but also the depth of the content that they give to us. So I'll catch up with you soon. Look after yourself. This is a live podcast and it doesn't go anywhere without you. This is Speak on Stage.